بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. أما بعد. السنن الإلهية. السنن الإلهية. السنة الإلهية are the divine laws, and will inshallah go step by step. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when he mentioned in Surah, we mentioned before, in Surah Al-Takwir, إذا الشمس كورت وإذا النجوم انكدرت. The fact that Allah, when he's talking about the sun, he's talking about the stars, he's talking about the mountains, he's talking about the seas, he's talking about them subhanahu wa ta'ala, not only the way they've been created or the way they are functioning, but the way how they're going to end. And this is the greatness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it doesn't show you like the detail of sciences. So people, they say, for example, there's a lot of scientific facts in the Quran. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to teach you the scientific facts in the Quran. That is a fact, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling you about His own creation. Then the people, when they study the Quran, they find the scientific facts. Therefore, anything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, how He started, how He's functioning, and how He's going to end, it all works through a qanun, through a law. The knowledge of the law, that is what people call science. The knowledge of that law, that people would call science. So for example, people, when they, the scientists, they think how the creation started, and they talk about the Big Bang. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَوَلَمْ يَرَى الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَنَّ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضَ كَانَتَا رَتْقًا فَفَتَقْنَاهُمَا. The heaven and the earth, they were all one body. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, set them apart at one moment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't tell us this to tell us, to say, oh, in the Quran there's the Big Bang, happening. That no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing for us His creation. There's big difference. If you, for example, yourself today, you will write what you do every day in a very simple way, honest, sincere way. You're going to say you drove your car, you do this, and you check your computer, you see phones, and you write it in a letter, and the letter you take it, for example, 300 years ago, and the people, they're going to read it. They're going to be amazed about the phone and about the car, what these things. So if you describe them there, people later, when they will think, they say, we have them this, now we find out what it means, car. But the one who wrote those notes, he didn't write them to show to the people later that he made the car. You understand? For lillahi subhanahu wa ta'ala al-mathalu al-a'la. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's the creator, so He's telling us how things happened. How things happened. And this is for us a perspective to look at the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to compare it with what people are discovering, but to let it flow into our spirit to understand better the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Takwir, the first part, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describing how things is going to end, which is for a perspective of knowing things, is the absolute and the infinite knowledge. Not only how it starts, but how it's functioning, is telling you how it's going to end. And in the end of the surah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala making a qasam, swearing, that these words of Allah sent down by Rasulun Kareem, the messenger, honorable messenger of Jibreel alayhi salam. on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. To bring these two parts together, that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down also has laws that regulate this system as the system of universe is regulated by laws. The same thing. Now, scientists, they look at the laws that regulate the universe. And you see the way, for example, the water, how things they float over the water because of the law that the physics they discover and they studied. They know the load they put on the water, then this is how the boat floats, etc. And you know when something will sink. So that knowledge of the law, that law, makes someone to plan, to know how to build the structure of the boat, and you know many things to help him travel on the sea. This is in a physical thing. But the same thing in our life. The same thing in our life. If someone, for example, is going to swim in this life, if he doesn't know how to swim, if he doesn't know what type of load he needs to carry, all of that is going to sink. He's the type of the load of the thing, the barakah that he's gonna get, that's the blessing. The destroying of the barakah, he's sinking. The wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is his distraction. So between the barakah of Allah, the blessing, and between being, someone who's been coming to under the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa iyadu billah, that it has the laws that we are talking about. And these laws are so accurate and precise as you see around you in the universe. That's why we call them, some of the scholars, they call them al-qawaneen. Qanun is like the law that people they use, into their constitutions. And the knowledge of the law, that is the knowledge. So for example, when we talk about scientists, the scientists, what they know is like to define things, right? How to deal with things. The experimentation is to give the behavior of the thing in different environments. But that behavior of the thing in different environment already existed. They didn't create it. They come to know how it works so they can have benefit from it. And this is, subhanAllah, one of the elements of the vicegerency of man in this universe. Everything around us, it carries the knowledge in itself. The bees, with what they have, skills that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala inspired them to have the kingdom and all this organization that they had, but they do not know anything about the rest of the world. The one who carries the knowledge, he's the one who has the opportunity to use everything around him. That is the man. He knows about the bees, but the bees doesn't know about the man. He knows about the cow, but the cow doesn't know about the man. He knows about the land and the ground and how fertile it is and how, but the land doesn't know about it. And this is how the man is a vicegerent. And this is the knowledge that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught to Adam alayhi salam. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Allah taught the Adam all the names. What all the names? Is to have the knowledge to use things. And that is the, subhanAllah, the science. In a very simple definition. Here, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make from سمات هذا القانون الثبات والاستمرار. We'll go today, inshallah, to give the definition of a Sunnah Ilahiya and to mention some of the characteristics of the law, the divine law. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that the characteristic of the Sunnah of Ilahiya is thabita, stable, and changeable. Mustamirra is going to last to the day of judgment. So this first characteristic. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا يَحِيقُ الْمَكْرُ السَّيِّئُ إِلَّا بِأَهْلِهِ فَهَلْ يَنظُرُونَ إِلَّا سُنَّةَ الْأَوَّلِينَ فَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَبْدِيلًا وَلَن تَجِدَ لِسُنَّةِ اللَّهِ تَحْوِيلًا. This is Surah Fatir, Ayah 34. Ayah 34. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the plot of those who do wrong, their way of plotting is going to come against them. You know, that their own plotting is going to cause them destruction for themselves. And he said, are they looking the Sunan, the way how it happened to those before them? You see, the Sunan. Do you have the TV on? Is set? That's fine. Can we have the remote? You can go. It's good for you to see. The A is 43.
It's on. Do that.
It's on?
You saw the higher.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
You don't have the other device. Come on.
Come on.
You have it?
Close it.
No, see.
First time it shows that now.
Not now?
No, it's
This is the A. I need the English here. On account of the other one.
43?
43. But the plotting of evil will then only the author thereof. Now are they but looking for the way the ancients were dealt with. So look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to treat the ancients before them, those who plotting evil. But no chance will you find in Allah's way of dealing. Alhamdulillah. No turning off will you find in Allah's way. So, لن تجد لسنة الله تبديلا ولن تجد لسنة الله تحويلا. That's why when you read the Quran, and this is the beauty of the Sunnah, what happened to Musa alayhi salam with Fir'aun, that is a Sunnah, that is a law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The Ummah today, they are in a situation, if they fulfill the condition, the right condition, they will have the same thing. The leader of them, the righteous, he will say, Kalla inna ma'i ya Rabbi sayahdeen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bring him the same help. What happened in Ghazwat Badr with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the companion in front of the mushrikeen, that's a sunnah of Allah. That's a law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It will not change. It will not change. We have one aspect to know. The Sharia of Allah is kamila, is complete and perfect. Is complete and perfect. This is a very important point. The perfection of the Sharia, how to deal with it, it's perfect. Something perfect If you add to it, you spoil it. If you reduce from it, you ruin it. Right? Something complete, perfect. If you add to it, you spoil it. If you reduce from it, you ruin it. So the Sharia, how to use it, if you add to it, it's going to be bid'ah. You're going to innovate. If you reduce from it, you're not fulfilling the way of Allah. So how the perfect way to deal with the Sharia? It is to submit to it. That's Islam. Because you have it perfect. Why you want to bring your thoughts just how to correct or to add? Don't add anything. All your skills, all your thinking, pour it in the way how to submit to it. That's it. Because it's perfect. Now, when you submit to it, the Sharia when it came with its foundation and its element and set of doing how to the process to implement it, and it is result. This is the perfection. So in every system, when you start to implement the system, you don't know if you're going to achieve the result or not. Right? Someone starting a business. He had the right investment, he had the right skills, he's investing in the right market, everything is good. But you told him, are you going to do profit? He said, Inshallah. You don't know. Because the market will hit by a recession, something happen, you don't know. For the way of Allah, the result is certain. Is certain. In tansurullaha yansurkum. If you give support and work for the cause of Allah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you victory. is being ordained. That's the sunnah. That's the sunnah. And this is what helps someone to think and to plan. That's why I told you, if you remember when we studied Ghazwat Badr, it's not about to defeat the disbeliever, it's to defeat our nafs inside, the bad one. If you do it, you will have the nasr. It's not the Prophet ﷺ in the counseling when they had before Ghazwat Badr, when all the believers, they were united on one heart, especially the Ansar, that they didn't before give the oath to the Prophet ﷺ to defend them outside Medina. And Sa'd ibn Mu'adh, he spoke, and he greatly did great, statements. And the Prophet ﷺ then was happy. What he said, قال سيروا وأبشروا. Go ahead and have the glad tidings. It's ordained. Why? Because the fulfilling of the condition of the victory came to be satisfied. Allah sent the help. It's really amazing in the book of Allah, and it's really amazing when you live your life in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is ordained, there is no doubt in it. قال أم حسبتم أن تدخلوا الجنة ولما يأتكم مثل الذين خلوا من قبلكم مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا حتى يقول الرسول والذين آمنوا معه متى نصر الله. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us, for us to wonder, and he said, because people they take the Jannah as something granted. He said, do you think that you go into Jannah that easily? Until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Till you know, for example, the example of the people before you, the example is Sunnah. This is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. مستهم البأساء والضراء وزلزلوا. بأساء والضراء. Poverty and calamities has touched them. And they've been endured with patience. The Prophet with them, they come to a point, قالوا متى نصر الله? When is the help of Allah? And here is a very amazing ayah. Someone, when he read it in a superficial way, he say, if the Prophet lost hope to say, when is the help of Allah? No, it's not that. They did everything that they can do. He said, when the help of Allah is like, what are we missing that we didn't do to have the help of Allah? So what was the answer? أَلَا إِنَّ نَصْرَ اللَّهِ قَرِيبٌ. The help of Allah is near, which is mean, you are close, just come to it. So qareeb, close, not the help is going to come to you. You come to the help. And the steps toward the help are steps of heart, not steps with feet. You go to the help of Allah, to the victory, with your heart, which is mean with satisfying the condition of the submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. متى نصر الله? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ألا إن نصر الله. So he didn't say إن نصر الله قريب to answer the ألا, to pour it in a statement of law, divine law is always near. So for the ummah, never the help of Allah was far. In the ummah who took its distance far away from the help of Allah. You understand? And this is to see some people, how they come to state of shirk and denial when calamities and problem befall on a Muslim ummah, they say, where's Allah? That's the ignorance of who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because never the help of Allah was far. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمُ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Your Lord said, call me, I'll answer you. Can someone say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is far? وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. When my servant asks you about me, I am indeed near. Why we are calling Allah, especially for the state of our ummah, and no answer came back? This is easily understood in the Sunnah. So this is الثبات والاستمرارية. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in another ayah, سنة الله التي قد خلت من قبل ولن تجد لسنة الله تبديلا. سورة الفتح أو القدس سورة الفتح. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, just to have some taste of the Sunan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look here, ayah 23. No, nothing. Nothing.
Yes, an update.
Huh?
Needs an update.
An update? Not now. I will give you the سورة الفتح. قال سنة الله التي قد خلت من قبل ولن تجد لسنة الله تبديلا. Ayah number 23 from Surah Al-Fatih. He's saying, such has been the practice approved of Allah already in the past. No change will you find in the practice approved by Allah. He called it sunnah, he called it way, he called it practice. Now if we read the ayah before it, ayah number 22, look Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال ولو قاتلكم الذين كفروا لولوا الأدبار ثم لا يجدون وليا ولا نصيرا. And if the unbelievers fought you, they will certainly turn their backs. They will they found neither protector nor helper. Allah is amazing ayah. وَلَوْ قَاتَلَكُمُ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا. And if the unbeliever had fought you, they will have run away. And then they will find no protector, no helper. Which is mean, if someone will do the right step in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a sunnah of Allah. Whenever you meet an unbeliever, he'll run away. It's a sunnah. Sunnat Allahi allati qad khalat min qablu. This is a sunnah. Now, I'll invite you to go further in the ayah up. How became a sunnah? How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provided? What is the condition of it? If you go to the ayah number 80, Allah has pleased on the believer those who given you your oath, their oath under the tree. Allah's good pleasure was on the believer when they swore to you under the tree. No one of us can be with the Prophet ﷺ under the tree, right? So can we fulfill this condition? We cannot. Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has His pleasure for the believer under the tree with the Prophet because to be under that particular tree? Because if it was that particular tree, why Umar radiallahu ta'ala, the first thing he did, he cut off that tree? Because people, when they go to make Hajj, everyone stop by that tree. Say, this is the shajara of Bay'at al-Ridwan. So I heard Umar, he said, they're gonna make it like a shajara to be the blessed shajara. People that come make barakah, cut off. So even if someone read this ayah said, oh, I should go to that shajara to benefit of this sunnah. I said, no, it's not about the shajara. Look what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the ayah. قال فَعَلِمَ مَا فِي قُلُوبِكُمْ. That is the key. Allah knew what in your heart. So when comes that level of iman in your heart, that's it. That sunnah that someone is trying to have, it will occur. فأنزل السكينة عليهم وأثابهم فتحا قريبا. Look, he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knew what was in their heart, and He sent down tranquility to them, and He rewarded them with the speedy victory. So the condition of fulfilling this sunnah is what we have in our heart. The objective of this sunnah of Ilahiya for us is to set a certainty in our aqidah, to have a aqidah certain. Certain in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Certain in the promise of Allah. And in the submission to the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the submission in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when we're thinking of what we said earlier, the system of Allah is perfect. And maybe some people, a secular, he will have find the trouble to say to something perfect, because nothing is perfect. That's what they say. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He is the creator, and He is the one who has the beautiful name. And anything comes from Allah is perfect. In fact, someone who qualifies the Sharia by imperfection, he's making ilhad in the sifatullah. He's causing and altering the attribute of Allah. The attribute of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the all-wise, the all-just, and everything comes from Allah, it has the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It has the quality of the attribute of Allah. That's why I started with Surah Al-Takwir to give you a perspective that the accuracy and the greatness of the Sharia is greater than the accuracy and the precision of the universe. And when you think, for example, about the route of the sun and the spinning of the earth and how it goes around the sun with this perfect and accurate distance and speed, right? The Sharia is more accurate and precise. Because this deals with routes and distance, and the Sharia deals with nufus, with the very complex souls. وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. Imagine the sun has a complex nafs. Maybe decide to not come up anymore. Therefore, the only one we say is a perfect, think of something. Foundation, the process of functioning, and the results are all perfect and certain. As we mentioned, if you do something today, you know you're going to meet Allah. You know that you're going to stand before Allah. And you know that He's going to judge you according to your salat. You know, you are certain. That's it, the thabat, that's it, the sunnah. You will not come in the day of judgment and you're going to be shocked that the record or the mizan has been taken care like totally different. You say, what did you have in your ship? Oh, this prayer is not accepted today. There are things have been changed. Can you imagine? That's for the problem of people of the book. When they believe that they're going to be saved for certain condition, accepting the Savior, when they come at the day of judgment, it's going to be totally different, right? They're going to be totally different. They say, who are we going to waiting for? You say, for our Lord. Who is your Lord? You're the Son of God. Said, تعالى الله ما اتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا. What are you talking about? They say, go find them. They go in a very foggy place, وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, and that's where is Jahannam. You're finding someone that doesn't exist. And those will be screaming, we have it, and we said, okay, what his name? Say, Isa ibn Maryam. Ya Isa, come here. لبيك وسعديك أنت قلت للناس اتخذوني وأمي إلهين من دون الناس من دون الله. Isa, did you say to the people, these people are screaming, they want you to save them. Did you tell them to take you as a Lord, you and your mother? And go read in Surah Al-Ma'idah what Isa will say. He didn't say that. But the believer, when he comes in the day of judgment, he knows his salat because he's going to see the light in his hand. He's certain. That's the law of Allah. That's the law of Allah. So that's why the munafiq will be, انظرونا نقتبس من نوركم. The hypocrite who lived among the Muslims, but his heart was hating the Muslims and hating the way of Allah, he will not have the light. But he will know the people. Say, look at us, we want to get some of your light. The angel will stop them and say, no, ارجعوا وراءكم. Or انظروا وراءكم. Go, the light you get it back in the dunya, not here. That's the meaning of the ayah. قيل ارجعوا وراءكم فالتمسوا نورا. Go back. It's not in the day of judgment that you're going to get this light. The light is being taken or produced in your way of life in the dunya. This is ikhwani the thabat. This is how give you the yaqeen. When you pray your prayer, not only you feel the comfort in it, but you know that prayer is going to have a name. It's going to be a person. It has like a personality, it has a life. That particular prayer with the rest of your prayer is going to be by your head in the grave. You You know that? And this is some glimpse of these laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore we say, if you know the result and certain, this is how make someone to not only submit, but he has a full focus in his life. He knows what to do. And he knows what is important in his life. And misery and really misfortune will befall on those who neglect what is certain and what it has a certain result. If someone, for example, neglecting his prayer, subhanAllah, say you are betraying yourself. That the prayer, give me anything in this dunya that has a certain result, except what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises. Nothing. We said, إرساء عقيدة اليقين بوعد الله, to have the certainty in the aqidah, in the belief, and the certainty in the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. التسليم لأمره, the full submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And to plan and be prepared for the future based on the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, look what he said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Mecca, in Surah Al-Rum and in Surah Ghafir. قال فاصبر, have patience. إن وعد الله حق. The promise of Allah is the promise of the truth. That's why the quality of the submission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it gives you this power, if you can say, the strength of being patient. Why? Because you know the result is going to come with no doubt. And here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَاصْبِرْ إِنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٍّ. Have patience. The promise of Allah is the promise of truth. وَلَا يَسْتَخِفَنَّكَ الَّذِينَ لَا يُقِنُونَ. And don't be distracted with those who do not believe, or those who do not have certainty in the law of Allah. And in that other ayah, قال فاصبر إن وعد الله حق واستغفر لذنبك وسبح بحمد ربك بالعشي والإبكار. And ask Allah for you to forgive you, and do celebrate Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by day and by night. استغفر لذنبك, this is with the sabr. Why? The istighfar, the forgiveness, will keep Allah's help close to you. So there's two elements. There's a time when it's going to happen, and then how close you are to it. It's very important. That the time, because it's only happening by the way of Allah. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Al-Baqarah, the help of Allah is near. You're going to walk to it, it's going to come to you. It's there. But how do you know that you are close enough? So when it comes, you're not going to miss it. Is your relation with Allah. That's how the Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, istaghfar, keep asking Allah forgiveness. Then when you have no sins between you and Allah, you are so close. When the help will come, we're going to take you. And this will help us when you know the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to not make any type of planning, but to make the planning according to the way of Allah. And this is, as mashallah, student of knowledge, and a student of knowledge, all of you, you are a du'at, because someone to be in the field of the da'wah doesn't need a membership or a title. A believer is a da'iyah. Every believer is a da'iyah. And when the da'iyah knows this sunan, he will plan based on this sunan. He will make his life so easy and his planning very accurate and very satisfying. Why? Because he's doing it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever who doesn't know the truth and the reality of the Sunan al-Ilahiya, the divine law, he doesn't know his life. Why? Because he lives his life outside this field of Sunan. And if he lives his life outside the field of Sunan, he's putting himself or herself in hardship. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِضُرٍّ فَلَا كَاشِفَ لَهُ إِلَّا هُ. If Allah touch you with difficulty, no one can uncover it except Allah. وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. And if he touch you with good, he had the power over all things. And it's amazing the ayah. He said, if any difficulty touch you, who can take away that difficulty from you? He's Allah. So, when you make your plan, when you make your dua, know that it's a law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyone who can go to complain to anybody else or scream outside is not going to help him. He's going to increase his distress. وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to you good, know that He has the power over all things, which is mean. If He didn't send to you the good, it's not that Allah doesn't have the power to send it or doesn't have it. He has it, but He didn't send to you because it's good for you. As we said, for example, Allah has the power to send you $1 million or not. He has it, right? So if you ask for $1 million, it doesn't come. He said, Allah had the power, He didn't send it to me. Not has He had the storage of the whole heaven and the earth. Because it's good for me. So you'll be happy, right? It's not the istikhara from Sunnatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you make istikhara, you feel so good. People like in his sujood, like every day, like, Ya Allah give me, Ya Allah give me, Ya Allah give me, Ya Allah have shower me with your mercy. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala smiling, He said, you're already swimming in my mercy. But the problem with the sunnah of Ilahiya, you know what is the good for you. Without it, you think, you live in what you think is good for you. Therefore your emotion and your feeling will be determined and dependent of in what? Dependent to what you think is good for you. With the sunnah for Ilahiya and you know the way of Allah, then your emotion will be determined of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants for you. Now he's saying here, and the life under the shade of the Sunan and the planning to the future based on the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the heart of all things. And it is the way to understand the destiny. To understand the destiny. And you know your future, how to set it. You remember, for those who took the Aqidah, we said, you make your future. The knowledge of the Sunnah of Ilahiya help you to make your future that pleases Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Also, one of the objectives that we mentioned, muwajjih al-ghayat. It will give you the perspective and direction of your goals. Perspective and direction of your goals. Because you cannot make goals outside of the law of Allah, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قَالْ إِنَّكَ لَن تَخْرِقَ الْأَرْضَ وَلَن تَبْلُغَ الْجِبَالَ طُولًا. You're not gonna split the earth and you're not gonna be as tall as the mountain. So there's a limit. And this is how someone will live in a realistic way. I'll give an example of one sunnah of Ilahiya, and then we'll come to the definition. We said that the sunnah Ilahiya is thabita and changeable and mustamirra and it goes and lasts to the Day of Judgment. So it will not stop in certain time or will not happen in certain space. It is exhaustive, general, and changeable, and works in all times. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying from the Sunan, وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. إِنَّ الْبَاطِلَ كَانَ زَهُوقًا. This is in the ayah, Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 81. Surah Al-Isra, ayah number 81. وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ. Say, the truth had come. The truth has come. Truth has now arrived. وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ. And falsehood perished. For falsehood is by its nature bound to perish. I think I mentioned this in the study of Badr on this is amazing. This has someone to plan. You'll find like the majority of the planning of people, mainly Muslim, if they don't apply this, they will not find their way. This is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala telling us the nature of the truth and the nature of the falsehood. The falsehood is by nature it perish. So if you see falsehood, it means that the truth is not here. So the way to defeat falsehood, according to this law of Allah, is not to face falsehood, is not to fight falsehood, is to work to have the truth come. So if the truth come, falsehood perish by nature. It cannot stay around the truth. It disappears. How can you fight darkness? You cannot fight darkness. You know, in the night, darkness is everywhere. Right? So you don't fight darkness. You bring the light. So when the sun rises, you don't see darkness. Where's the darkness? It's exactly the same with the truth and falsehood. So if you fight the darkness, you don't have means because it's unfightable. But the way to fight it is to bring the light. So when truth comes, the falsehood disappears. So when someone will plan, he will not plan to, for example, in our way of dawah. If you revive the sunnah, if you improve your behavior, if you yourself become someone who really represent the truth, then that's how falsehood is going to disappear. وَقُلْ جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَزَهَقَ الْبَاطِلُ. This is a law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is the way how to make us really correct the way of our thinking from the way of Allah, from the Sunnah. قال فلا نخشى الباطل مهما تعاظم أمره. This is what makes someone should not fear falsehood, even though you see the biggest around you. Fir'aun, when he uses to mention his name, people, you know, you see them like shaking from fear. Fir'aun. And you remember in the Sunnah, in the life of the Prophet ﷺ, especially the one we studied from the Quran, the two aspects in the human being. There's the human being nature of weakness, and there's the part of the iman who make you strong. right? But the part of the iman that is very strong cannot neglect or bring that part of human being also every high at the strength of the iman. Example. Someone, he threatened by his life to change his deed. The strength of the iman, he will not change it. But when they go to punish him, persecute him, he's scared. He will say, why am I scared? Say, no, you're fine, you're good. That part is your part of human being. You cannot help it. You cannot help it. You're facing, for example, like soldiers, when you're talking about, from the Ghazawat. If you see someone shaking, shivering, so you don't say like he's a coward. No, that's a nature. It's a nature. That's the human being. That's human being. The strength of the iman is something else. That's how we explain in Surah Al-Anfal. قال وإن فريقا من المؤمنين لكارهون. Some group of the believers, they don't like it. كأنهم يساقون إلى الموت وهم ينظرون. It's like you're dragging them to death and they're looking, which is mean they were scared. That is the nature of human being. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala treated that nature? To give them support, He sent the angels. So the angel was, subhanallah, to treat that nature, to give them the moral tranquility. Oh, the angels are with us. But the nasr from who? The victory was from who? From Allah. Nothing have to do the angels with it. When Musa alayhi salam went to Fir'aun, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them go to Fir'aun, قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري, and he making dua, and you feel Musa alayhi salam speaking to Allah, he had this strength. That's the power of the iman. But when he was going to Fir'aun, he with his brother, that part of the human being start to push somehow. قال ربنا إننا نخاف أن يفرط علينا أو أن يطغى. Ya Allah, we are concerned, we are scared if you're going to go, out of his boundary and he go to kill us. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said? قال no, إنني معكما أسمع وأرى لا تخاف. Don't be scared. I am with you. I hear and I see. So there's two power. The power of the iman who drive you from, and there's that power, that element of the human being. The more you increase your iman, when you come to the ihsan, that's it. Why? Because you know that Allah is with you. And this is how to manage, in a way, the life within the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell you al-batil zahuq, the nature of the batil is to perish. So He said you should not fear the batil at all. The batil, the falsehood, should never make a believer to kneel. No. That's why the greatest one who will be one of the master of the shuhada, with Hamza radiallahu ta'ala, قال ورجل قام إلى سلطان جائر فنهاه فقتله فأمره فنهاه فقتله. He said سيد الشهداء Hamza, the master, the greatest of the shuhada, Hamza. And a man stood in front of a tyrant ruler. He forbid him, he enjoyed good to him, he forbid evil to him, and then that ruler gets so mad he killed him. That's with Hamza. No fear of falsehood. No fear of falsehood if we understand the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, when for example around us you see a lot of falsehood, see subhanallah, how someone is going to do that? Many people will say, Ya akhi, our children, I feel sorry for our children, how are they going to live in this world? said, don't ever lose hope in Allah. All what you see as a falsehood is like a foam. It's a foam. It's nothing. It's like a bubble. You poke it, it's gone. So you see, it's so big, people like really under the threat of how big it looks. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us this example. This is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Musa alayhi salam taken his people to enter the sacred land, قالوا إِنَّ لَن نَدْخُلَهَا. Forget ya Musa, we're not going to get in. Why? It has very strong people there. We're not going to meet these people. Forget. إِنَّ لَن نَدْخُلَهَا حَتَّى يَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا فَإِنْ يَخْرُجُوا مِنْهَا فَإِنَّا دَاخِلُونَ. If they come out from it, we'll enter. Musa said, how are they going to come out? If you don't go, if you do not go, how are they going to come out? This is Allah promised you this. You are the believer. This land is for the believers. It's the land of the prophethood. It's the land that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put barakah in it. They been scared. Why? Because قالوا إن فيها قوما جبارين. What جبارين? They were like strong, tall, scary. You see them from distance? They got so scared. قال رجلان من الذين يخافون. Those two men from among the people, they fear Allah. Fear Allah, not fear the falsehood. They said, just get to the door, just get to the gate of the city, you will enter it. They will be scared from you because Allah is with you. He's going to be put fear in their heart, so they're going to be scared from you. And just get to the door. قال رجلان من الذين يخافون أنعم الله عليهم ادخلوا عليهم الباب فإذا دخلتموه فإنكم غالبون. Just a step to the door, Allah will give you victory. So where is the victory here? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ألا إن نصر الله قريب. This is Allah. Allah made it to be by the door. So how to get the victory? Go work yourself. Get rid of the fear you have and fear Allah alone. If you settle that in your heart, you have the victory. You have the victory. Go and come to the door, to the gate of the city. Allah will give you victory. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. Put your trust in Allah if you are true believers. What they said? قَالُوا إِنَّ لَن نَدْخُلَهَا أَبَدًا. We will not get it. فَذَهَبْ أَنْتَ وَرَبُّكَ فَقَاتِلًا. Go you and your Lord, ya Musa, fight. We wait for you here. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cursed them, and they have 40 years of wandering in the land. They travel, the next day they find themselves in the same place for 40 years. The law of Allah. So the change is where? Is in the heart. The falsehood by nature it perish. Come a time after Musa alayhi salam, they still have to go back to that land where they're going to establish the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. By the way, why this particular land? Because it's Al-Quds. The Quds is the land of the Prophet. For the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Mecca is the center, the heart, Qura, the first masjid in Mecca. One of the greatest purposes of the da'wah of the Prophet ﷺ is to free Mecca from idols and have it back to the law of Allah. The same thing for Al-Quds, to free it from disbelief and have it back to Allah. That was the mission of Musa and his people. Be careful, okay? It's not because they named children of Israel that they deserve it, no. To free it from disbelief, give it back to Allah. After Musa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the prophet to them. And they said, give us a king, ask Allah to bring us a king so we can fight in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get back our land. The same story. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them Talut Malika. The law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to test the hearts. Because it's impossible, according to the criteria of power and strength, equipment, for them to face the people of Jalut. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to test the heart, He put the river. So Talut قال إن الله, look, he said it right, إن الله مبتليكم بنهر. Allah is going to test you with this river. Whoever drink from it, he will stay here. And whoever who will not drink, he will come with me. Except the one who just takes more scoop. That's the rahmah. طيب, as soon as Talut said it, the majority, they not only they drink, they dived inside the place. We don't want to go. Subhanallah. And this is in the Quran, all the story have its depth. It's about how truthful you are with Allah in your heart. The victory is from who? From Allah. And He will give it to who? To the one sincere and truthful in his heart. Not to the one who has a lot of muscle and heavy equipment. فشربوا منه إلا قليلا. قال فلما جاوزه هو والذين آمنوا معه قالوا لا طاقة لنا اليوم بجالوت وجنوده. There is no way for us to feed with this small number. قال الذين يظنون أنهم ملاقو الله كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله. Those who certainly believe, they have certainty in meeting Allah. They said how many small group, they defeated big group by the will of Allah. Here, their evidence, it was to boost the moral, or their evidence was Allah of Allah. It was a divine law. How many before us? Now that you won the test, you didn't drink from the river. So the Nasr is in front of you. Just go meet them. Allah is going to bring you the Nasr. So here, what will be your weapon is not the skills of fighting, is your skills of patience. كم من فئة قليلة غلبت فئة كثيرة بإذن الله والله مع الصابرين. Just have patience. What is the patience here? That you know that the way of Allah, the promise of Allah is going to happen. Just be patient. Just be patient. You're driving 10 hours and you know inshallah you get your destination. Someone gets so bored, they say, "Yakhi, have patience. You're going to get there in a few hours." So that patience, people, they call it killing time. By killing time, they're killing themselves. In patience, do it in tasbih, do it in dhikr, do it in increasing and have nourishing that yaqeen that you have. ولما برزوا لجالوت وجنوده قالوا ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا. The same thing. They didn't say, Ya Allah, give us weapon. Ya Allah said, Oh Allah, pour on us patience. For that weakness in the nature of the human being. Pour on us patience, Ya Allah. And then what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, قال فهزموهم بإذن الله. They defeated them by the will of Allah. So the victory was being already in the account of the believer from when? From when they didn't drink from the river. That's the law of Allah. That's the law of Allah. So when we have it in the Quran, for Allah to set it as a law. And these laws is exactly as the physics. The same. We have the example of Fir'aun, لعنه Allah. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after he rebelled against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how he destroyed him. And this is an example as a law of Allah for any tyrant who's like Fir'aun. As-Sunnah al-Ilahiya. After this, some of the example, we'll give the definition of the Sunnah of al-Ilahiya. As-Sunnah is the way or the practice that someone follow in fulfilling something that he wants to do. Hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, "Man sanna sunnatan hasanah." Whoever who starts a way that is good, a practice that is good, he will have its reward, and the reward whoever who will do the same thing. Someone in a town, he digged a well. This is a good thing that he did. It's going to be like sadaqah shay'an. Everyone who gets water from that well, he has the reward, the one who started it. Someone contribute in the house of Allah, someone contribute with knowledge. You might say nice advice to a person, change his life. The changing of the life of that person, everything good he will do, you have the reward. And that words that you said, it was so profound for the person. Every time he meets someone or she meets someone, they told him the same words, and it changed the life of those. And that chain of changing the life, but those words, that's ilmun yuntafa'u bih. That's the knowledge that will benefit others. So this is Sunnah. So that's why someone will look at the athar, trace of anything he will say, anything he will do. That's the meaning of the Sunnah. فعمل بها بعد كتب له مثل أجر من عمل بها ولا ينقص من أجورهم شيء. And of course, whoever will do the action, he will have full reward. But the person who started it, he will have the same reward. Subhanallah. ومن عمل سنة سيئة, and whoever who starts a bad practice, he will have its burden, its sin, and he will have the burden of everyone who will do the same. والعياذ بالله. قالوا يحملون أوزارهم وأوزار الذين يضلونهم بغير علم. They will be carrying their burden and the burden of those who got them to astray without knowing them. There's أعوذ بالله some, those songs calling to fahisha and everything. Everyone who listened to those songs, he has a sin. And the one who started, who produced it, who sang it, all of them, they have the same sin. So imagine those, they call them the stars and everything, how they're going to come to the day of judgment. Or someone, the first one who started the worst practice, if you can say, the bad action, is the son of Adam, when he killed his brother. So everyone who killed after him, he had the burden of the killing, because he's the one who dared to start to kill. ما من قتيل يقتل إلا ولابن آدم وزر في ذلك. Everyone killed, the son of Adam that he killed his brother, he has a sin, a burden of that. That's why he said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whoever who killed one soul, he's like he killed the whole humankind. So some of the scholars, they said, his brother who died, if he lived, this is of course Allah, in Allah's knowledge, but if we say, he will have a whole offspring since Adam. So like his brother, he killed the offspring of his brother. And like he killed the whole humankind. That's why one of the biggest atrocities to someone kill an innocent life. أعوذ بالله. كأنما قتل الناس جميعا.
Even after Tawbah?
Huh?
Even after Tawbah?
No, after Tawbah, Tawbah تمحو ما قبل. The Tawbah will erase it inshallah. من أجل ذلك كتبنا على بني إسرائيل أنه من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض فكأنما قتل الناس جميعا. For that purpose, we have decreed on the children of Israel, and it was in their book, and Allah mentioned in our book, so it becomes also our law, that whoever will kill a soul with no right or spreads mischief on the earth is like he killed the whole humankind. ومن أحياها فكأنما أحيا الناس جميعا. وعن عبد الله بن عمرو أنه كان يقول إن أشقى الناس رجلا لابن آدم الذي قتل أخاه ما سفك دم في الأرض منذ قتل أخاه إلى يوم القيامة إلا لحق به منه شر وذلك أنه أول من سن القتل. Abdullah ibn Umar, he said, the most misfortune and worst of the people is the son of Adam, because he started that sunnah, started that practice. Whoever will do it in the dunya, he will have part of it. And we'll do this and I'll give you a break, inshallah. The categories of al-Sunan al-Ilahiya and the types. Two categories. We have as-Sunnatul Kawniyya, the divine, universal divine law, was Sunnatul Shar'iyya, the Shar'i divine law. And from the types, we have as-Sunnatul Jariyah. As-Sunnatul Jariyah is the normal law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Let's say Al-Jariyah, the one that is the natural law of Allah, that what we see and what is regulating the way of the universe is functioning. The natural divine law of Allah, let's say called the natural. The second one is the supernatural divine law of Allah, or let's say the miraculous divine law. السنة الخارقة. السنة الخارقة. The first one, as-Sunnatul Jariyah, the natural one, like the way the sun rises, it sets, the moon, the clouds, the rain, all of that what we see is a natural. The water flows, the fire burns. The al-Khariqa, the supernatural, the fire will not burn, the water becomes as a mountain. That's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did. So two categories, Kawniyya wa Shar'iyya, universal and Shar'i, and two types, natural and supernatural. And they'll give you 5 minutes a bit. It is the law and the system, the divine law and system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala everything, all the creation is submitted to it. It's the law and the system of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to which all the creation is submitted to. Submitted to willingly or unwillingly. The human being in this system and in this law, universal law, he is musayyir. He is submitted to it. He doesn't have choice in it. He lives within the structure. He cannot get out this structure. For example, give an example. In this divine law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, death is decreed on all the creation. If someone, for example, will make dua and said, Ya Allah, don't cause me to die. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and your Lord said, call me, I'll answer your call. وَقَالَ رَبُّكُمْ ادْعُونِي أَسْتَجِبْ لَكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, call me, make dua, I'll ask your call, I'll answer your call. Will Allah answer this dua? Like in sujood, in Laylat al-Qadr, in tears, he said, Ya Allah, please don't kill me, don't make me die, I don't want to die, Ya Allah. Will you do that? And if you do it with a full sincerity, concentration, and the highest degree of ikhlas, will Allah will answer your call? Should not. Why? Because this is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the law of Allah. So this is al-Qanun al-Ilahi, the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will never change. He said to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إِنَّكَ مَيِّتٌ وَإِنَّهُمْ مَيِّتٌ. You're going to die, and everyone else is going to die. كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ. Every soul is going to taste death. Taste. Inshallah, we'll analyze it in another time. He didn't say every soul is going to die. Taste death. Therefore, when someone say, "Oh Allah, do not cause me to die," this is impossible. Abdullah ibn Haram, the shaheed that he saw Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without hijab, استشهد في أحد. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was talking about it. He said, Ya Abdullah, ask. He said, Ya Allah, send me back to the dunya. I want to die again in your sake. قال لا يا عبد الله. No, this is a decree. It's been ordained. No one comes back to the dunya after he dies. قال فأخبر عنا يا Allah. So tell about us. So Allah revealed in Surah Al-Imran, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ يَسْتَبْشِرُونَ بِالَّذِينَ لَمْ يَلْحَقُوا بِهِمْ. They are there, they are alive. So Allah is telling us about that. And they are waiting for those who didn't come yet. So someone cannot make, for example, any dua that conflict with the natural and natural law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is kawni, universal. The son of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Ibrahim, he died young, almost 2 years old. And at that time, it has the eclipse of the sun. People, they went out in the Medina, قال خسفت الشمس من أجل موت إبراهيم. The eclipse you see is because of the death of Ibrahim, the son of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out for Salat al-Khusuf, to make Salat al-Khusuf or also Kusuf. There's a particular prayer, special prayer for the eclipse. And he spoke to the people. قال إن الشمس والقمر آيتان من آيات الله لا ينكسفان ولا يخسفان لموت أحد ولا ينخسفان لموت أحد. The sun and the moon are signs of Allah. They are subjected to the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They do not eclipse for the death of anyone. So that's the nature, the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is system, kawn. So in someone's practice, in someone's way, you will not evolve into your planning miracles. You'll not say, don't worry believers, we're gonna go and inshallah, don't take with you food. You're good, Allah will provide you. But we going to meet, we're gonna have a seed, don't worry. Inshallah, Allah will split it as He did to Musa. It doesn't work. It will not work. Or if it would have worked, it will come in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, the mushrik, they said, وَقَالَ الَّذِينَ كَفَروا, the ayah in Surah, وَلَقَدْ صَرَّفْنَا لِلنَّاسِ فِي هَذَا القرآن مِنْ كُلِّ مَثَلٍ فَأَبَى أَكْثَرُ النَّاسِ إِلَّا كُفُورًا وَقَالُوا لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى تَفْجُرَ لَنَا مِنَ الْأَرْضِ يَنبُوعًا أو تكون لك جنة من نخيل وعنب فتفجر الأنهار خلالها تفجيرا وتسقط علينا من السماء كما زعمت كسفا أو تأتي بالله والملائكة قبيلا. They said, we will not believe in you. Till you bring us, like in the whole Mecca, there's no dry and everything, you make it all springs, water coming out. Or you make for us a garden filled with palm trees and with grapevines. And in these gardens, we want to see like rivers flowing. Or, if you cannot do this, have the sky to fall on us. Challenge. Or bring your God and the angels to us so we can speak to them. And if you cannot do any of this, at least we want something for yourself. You are poor. أو تكون لك بيت من زخرف. Or you will make for yourself a castle out of diamonds. أو ترقى في السماء. The last thing, he said, we have something else. We want to see you climbing into the sky. And then he said, 1 second, but we will not believe, even we see you, because you are a magician, maybe you're tricking our eyes. Till you see you coming back and in your head the book. It says, read. وَلَن نُؤْمِنَ لِرُقِيِّكَ حَتَّى تَنزِلَ كِتَابًا قَبْلَ book. Look, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and this is the sunnah of Allah, this is how we understand the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قال قل سبحان ربي ما كنت إلا بشر رسول. Be exalted Allah. I am only a man like you, a messenger. I cannot fly. I cannot make miracle. I cannot do anything. I am a simple human being. So, when the believer will plan, he will be not plan on miracles. He will not enter in his planning the sun is going to be in his favor, or the moon is going to set especially for him, or the sea is going to help him, so the water, everyone can work on the water. This is not in the planning of the believer. Wallah, this is the sunnah al-kawniyya. You cannot ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is within the sunnah kawniyya. Allah subjected things to us in His will subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you want to travel in the sea, Allah made for you the way how to do it, through boats, through things, but to work on the water, you cannot. And the one who is working on the water doesn't mean that he is grade 5. Be careful. Because he's contradicting with the law, universal law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say, so how it happened to him? Say, maybe jinn he's carrying him. And he wants you to think that is a miracle. So that's the extreme Sufi, when they collect, they have a book comprehensive of karamat, and they want to show you this is great pious people. They do mischief, but yet they have miracles, which make them to be pious, because these miracles are amazing. So they're not amazing. I mean, you don't see everything, you cannot see everything. So the jinn who helping them to make you see us or make to be like a miracle. And this is the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We don't plan based on miracles. We do not plan based on miracles. And the charlatans from the people of the book who make their way of living through miracle by bringing fake people and singing and people that cannot walk, and then they come them on the scene and they making hallelujah on them, and suddenly he starts to dance, huh? Say miracle, miracle, hallelujah, and people that given money they want to have the same thing. That's a business. That's business, tricky business. Nothing have to do with the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is how to say that in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when we understand the Sunan, we understand your way. Islam is based on action, being active, dynamic, proactive. You go to things, and you don't put in your plans things that is going to happen, miracles is going to happen. No. If you go into travel, take with you your provision. وَتَزَوَّدُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, go to Hajj, tazawwad, take your provision, take all what you need. But know the best of the provision is the taqwa. But if it happened when you took all your precaution and you went out of provision, something happened, you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah then will not let you down. That's when the supernatural law will come to help you. Wow. السنة الشرعية. The sunnah, the shar'i sunnah. What is the shar'i sunnah? It is the way or the law that is set in Allah's way of dealing with His servant. It's the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in dealing with His servant. And the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deals with His servant is the way they behave in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So based وفقا لسلوكهم وأفعالهم ومواقفهم من شرع الله. So it depends on their of behaving, their action, and their position toward the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah will deal with them according to that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala way of dealing with His servants based on their action and on their behavior in the way of Allah. And this way of dealing is in the dunya and the akhirah, the same. In the dunya and the akhirah. So it's not only in the dunya and the akhirah, in the dunya and the hereafter. Based on that, every servant should know his position with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When he called to account his way of behaving in the way of Allah. When he called to account, just hasib nafsik, call to account for yesterday. What did you do? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered you things commanding you to do things, encourage you to do things. What did you do in this? The way you did, that's how you can, let's say, diagnostic your position toward Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's a scary thing I will share it with you. That's fine. Some of the scholars, they say, if you want to know the way how you're going to die, look at yourself how you behave when you are alone. Brother, this is the sunnah of Allah. Don't be scary, but it helps. One of the scholars saying, if you want to know how you're going to die, look at yourself, the way you behave when you are alone. Because when you are alone, Allah is with you. If you want Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you at the time of death, protect the maharamillah when you are alone, when you are far from the eyes of the people. Which is mean, if someone who doesn't care of Allah when he's alone, so his piety is done for the people, not for Allah. That's the one who's going to be uncovered in the time of his death. But the Prophet ﷺ in the hadith, you remember we said, the hadith that he will be doing the action of good people of Ahlul Jannah, till when he comes to the end of his life, everything changed and he will do something bad, and يَسْبِقُ عَلَيْهِ كِتَابًا. That's one of the sin. And this is the sunnah of Shari. The way you behave with the way of Allah, Allah will behave with you the same. And Allah is the all just. مَا أَصَابَكَ مِنْ حَسَنَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever touch you from good is from Allah. Whatever touch you from bad is from yourself. Which is mean the bad that comes only because you did something wrong. If you are settled in the way of Allah, Allah keeps showing you with His mercy. And it's not your right to have that mercy. It's Allah's bounty on you. That's why whatever good comes to you from Allah. Whatever bad is from yourself, because Allah wants good for you. And this is the law of Allah. So if someone will do bad, you are putting yourself within this law, so the bad is going to happen to you. It's a law, it's a divine law, qanun. Qanun is there. And this is the sunnah shari. Why we call it shari'iyya, as we mentioned in the divine will and predestination, we call it shari'iyya because you have the will to do or not to do. You have the choice. And your choice are governed by the way of Allah. If you submit to the way of Allah and you make your choice bound to the way of Allah, then you will be under the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will finish with this. قال بل الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة. الإنسان على نفسه بصيرة. على نفسه بصير. It's like البصر is to see. And البصر is like very clear vision. You know, it's like when you want to have, you lost something and you have light not strong, you add light. You say, can you please add light? You add all the light you have in the room to try to find it. The maximum of the light or you have in the room to help you find something small, that's kind of basira. So the man, he will be fully aware of himself. He will see it very clear. بَلِ الْإِنسَانُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ. He will not even have the record because he already knows. على نفسي بصيرة ولو ألقى معاذيرة. Even though he's going to bring like excuse, Ya Allah, I didn't do, Ya Allah, because of this, Ya Allah, because I was in a society that have a lot of fasad, I grew up among this. ولو ألقى معاذيرة. And this is why, because this is in the Sunnah Shari'ah. You had the choice. You had the choice. The legs being provided to us by Allah, they never control you or control a person to go to the haram. Can you imagine someone sitting like in the masjid, for example, quiet, and suddenly his leg stood, took him, and running, say, please leg, stop, and go to the haram. Then find someone who's like, alhamdulillah, say, why are you doing this to me? Did you see that? So the leg, they're gonna speak in the day of judgment, say, Ya Allah, he took us. He took us. Or someone is like, someone will be complaining in the day of judgment, say, Ya Allah, hada latamani, he hit me. He said, well, I didn't do it, it's my hand who did it. Can someone who do that? This is Sunnah Shari'i. So the hand, that's why in the Hukm al-Shari'i, for the one who hand, when the law of Allah is established and the justice of Islam is feeling the society, the one who will steal, he will have his hand to be cut off. You know the spirit, the wisdom, beautiful wisdom. قال إذا هانت شانت. إذا is if a hand there to the haram, you don't deserve to have it anymore. Why? Because that hand is a trust from Allah, it's a gift from Allah to you. You dare to take it, to use it for the haram. If you use the haram, you don't deserve it anymore. We'll take it away from you. That's the meaning of it. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه الغفور الرحيم.